proud to have Coach Chris Poore back with us today. He's been here 6 years now. Eight years with the Dobyns Bennett program. He came from Jefferson County, where he was coached for 6. He's a graduate of Tusculum, where he played ball down there. His wife's here today, Jessica, along with 2 of the kids. One of them not attending. But anyway, we're glad to have him. He's been with us before, so let's just give him a welcome to Kiwanis Club Kingston.
Thank you, and thank you, Mark, for inviting me back again. Seems like I'm here most of the time in November before our season starts, so it's a good change to do it as our season's already started. We have a good outlook on what we actually have, not what we perceive to have, so thank you guys for coming out and attending. The team that we currently have, I can brag on for a lot, for all day, really. Because there's a lot of great things, a lot of great kids, and our program right now is in really good hands with the players that we have. And I don't get to do that very often. It's my guys hear me coach them, critique them, push them. I don't really just get to brag on them very often. So it's a good change of pace to be able to do that every once in a while. But they're very worthy of it. And I'll say this, our season last year was a very disappointing year for a lot of reasons. Not necessarily the wins and losses. We knew going into last year it was going to be tough because of what we had lost in the previous 2 years. We knew we had to rely on a lot of new faces, and there wasn't a lot of consistency to build on. But more importantly, we didn't really hold the values that Dobyns Bennett basketball has granted us. And we didn't really do a very good job holding that standard. So going into this offseason, my mission to my players and my message was we're going to appreciate those that came before us, those that laid the foundation and set the expectation where it is. And if you're not willing to accept that standard and raise that standard, then you're not going to be around. And it's not by any other means that I went about the offseason to refine our team. I knew we had good talent, good young talent coming back, but we had at one point last year 6 juniors that are no longer with us. And I got rid of those, or we weeded those out through the summer, through the preseason workouts, through some means, different means for each one of them, and for different reasons. But it came to this very fine group that we have. And I think the proof is out there that you do things the right way, you approach the game the right way, results will happen. And I think that some of that got lost in the flow. Guys previously thought, well, a guy graduated in front of me, it's my turn, I'm going to get to play, I don't have to really work for it. And that's really not the case. That's not how life works, that's not how business works, that's not how sports works. But this group of guys that we have now, we had 6 guys. 3 of them were in the gym the day after our season ended last year. And I know that Levi right here, Jeremiah Jones, who's a junior for us, doing a really good job. And we had one other player that were in the gym 37 times from the end of our season to the end of the school year. And they would go over to the Boys and Girls Club, wherever they could find gym space, and put in the work. And that effort, that has really grown their games, and they have really put us in a good spot right now. We are currently sitting at 13-4. We've only lost to 1 in-state team. 3 of our losses have come to Florida, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. That's 3 of our 4 losses. The only Tennessee loss, we had a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter and squandered that away. But we were in a very good position for that game as well. But I say that because it's a tribute to the guys and their buy-in of their work ethic. Our strength, if you've watched us play up to this point, is our ability to score the basketball. We score the ball extremely well. One of the most exciting offensive teams I've coached because we have 4 guys in double figures, another one right on the cusp, and we share the ball a lot. And if I could pick a style to coach, it would be a high-powered offense, playing fast, and I would probably play a little bit more defense than we play right now. But the style is very fun. It's very exciting for fans. We score a lot of points. We've scored as many as 114 points this year. That was in a double overtime game with Boyd County. They have a Division I prospect that's a very good player, and we were able to beat them 114 to 105. It's the most points I've ever coached given up, and it's the most points we've ever scored. We were 2 points away from the school record, and we missed 26 free throws. But nobody's counting, right? We got the win. We're moving on. But recently, we played in 2 tournaments as of late, and the holiday season allows us to do things and challenge our team in ways that we can't challenge them here. We have the Alpha Invitational before Christmas where we bring teams in, play against teams. There were 8 teams from 7 different states. That way we can see athletes that aren't in the Tri-Cities region and compete against them. We did a really good job going 2-1. The only team we lost to was Alexander, Georgia. Really good team, and we went down to the wire with them. We recently got back from Tampa Bay, Florida. We took our team down to a tournament that was an extremely talented tournament. There were several brackets, and when I was signing our team up, the person I was talking to, I told him, I said, put us in the best bracket you've got. He was like, Coach, do you realize we have private schools like in this tournament too? And I said, yeah, I'm very aware. We want to play against the teams that you have in your tournament. And we got what we asked for. The first game, the team we played had a kid, 6'9", 6'10", is a 5-star kid, number 2 player in the Southeast. But he's got Kansas offers, and he was every bit as difficult to guard as he seems. And they also had 4 or 5 other high major players on that team as well. We didn't do too well. We got beat 68-36, somewhere around the mark. But I thought we learned a lot about how to approach those games, how to prepare for those teams and those players. And while we won't play a team that talented this year, we can pick parts of that game and learn from it. And I thought that was good for us. The second game, we played against a very talented team out of Florida, Palmetto. They had a guard who's getting looks at Tennessee State and different Florida Gulf Coast. And we were able to beat them, came down to the wire. And then the last day, we played a Montour, Pennsylvania team with another 6'10", really, really talented post player who will be playing college basketball as well. So we've been challenged. We've been tested. Now it's time to come back and see if that is paying off for us. You know, I've always believed you play the best if you can compete against them. You know, and I think we showed that we can compete with some of these teams. And if we put together a good team effort, we could have a very good basketball team. The best news is we only have 1 senior. He's a very good senior. He's been a good leader for us. Dace Potts, our point guard. He came with me last year. He's having the best year he's had yet, leading our team, doing a really nice job. But that's the only player we have that won't be returning. Well, that's the only guy that will be graduating this year. Okay, we always will lose guys that may not continue for one way or the other, but he's the only current senior we have. I'll introduce these guys and then come up and you can give some questions to them. Dace, you can come on up. Like I said, Dace is going to be running track next year at ETSU. He is committed or signed. He is signed for track, so you'll see him in our local area. Cam Hayworth. Cam has recently committed to Virginia Tech for baseball. He will be pitching at Virginia Tech next year, in 2 years. Next year he'll be right back here with us, which is good news. He was our leading scorer last year. He's been our leading scorer this year. Put a lot of pressure on him in a lot of ways, but he always arises to the occasion. He's been a great asset to our program, and he'll be a name that gets etched in our books for a long time. Levi Webb. Levi is a junior. He is one of our harder workers. Levi's game has excelled and grown more than anybody else in our program, and it's all because of his work ethic. He is a good defender. He is a really good shooter, and he's doing a really, really good job this year impacting the game from a physical standpoint, which is one of our weaknesses. Our weakness is we don't really play too physical. Some of it's because we're young. Some of it's because we just don't have that demeanor. He brings a really physical aspect to our team. Zayden has yet to really get in a groove this year. He is, as a sophomore, was a starter, led us in minutes at the guard position. He's been sick. He's been kind of out under the weather for quite some time. Hopefully, he's back 100% tonight, as he's been sitting out for the last 2 tournaments. He hasn't got to participate. So we're excited to have him back. Really talented guard. Helps us with physicality as well, with his being a veteran player as well. Backup point guard, Jalen Thomas. You probably remember him from the football field, where he's been doing a lot of things as well. Jalen's been a very solid guard for us, getting others involved. Just a great group of guys. And I'll say, aside from their basketball abilities, it's been a really, really fun team. I feel like we're getting a lot closer as a group. And it seems like every year it gets harder and harder to get guys to really come together and buy in for something bigger than themselves. This culture, the world, everybody is consumed about one thing. And if it doesn't revolve around you, you dismiss it. And we fight that every day. We try to show our guys what DB basketball means. I know it means a lot to a lot of people. And like I tell them, the facilities we have and that we're about to get into, we've done nothing to deserve that. The standard that was set for 100 years before us is what makes this place so special. So we did some things on this trip. We had some former players, all the way from Earl Lovelace, all the way as recent as 2022 team, send video clips of what DB basketball meant to them. And we played it for our guys so they can sort of get an understanding of appreciation for what they represent. And we'll continue to do that, trying to preach team effort, because for us to be competitive outside of East Tennessee, we have to rely on one another. And like I tell them, we can go play these other areas and these other schools, and they're going to have guys that are much better than we are individually. But as a group, we can beat those teams, and we can beat those players, but it takes a mindset to do so. So I'm really excited about having them here. Hopefully you guys will fire some questions at them. If you want me to call a couple of them out, I will, and we'll have some fun here. So anybody have any questions? The question was, what gets their motor running in the morning to play basketball? You want that?
How close do I get? My motor in the morning is to, I mean, it might be different for these guys, but I mean, I want to play basketball at the next level. And so each day, if I'm not getting better, kind of what am I doing? So that's my motive. That's what I look forward to each day. Just the love for sport. I don't know if I necessarily want to play in the morning, but I'm excited to be able to play another sport other than baseball. I think I've always played basketball growing up too, so just knowing that this year, next year for me, or the last 2 years, it's what motivates me.
Same thing as Cam, just playing another sport we love. I've always played basketball, and just getting better every day.
Basically what Wench said, just love the sport to play.
This is one of the better GPA teams I've had. I don't know what our accumulative is right now as a group, but if you want to say individually, they're all a lot smarter than I am, so their GPAs are really high. I'll say this, we don't have anyone on our last progress report that had a D. Actually, the only 2 C's, I think, are gone now. So imagine that. Last year, I would have been hesitant to tell you. I probably would have dodged that question. But this is a very good GPA. I think 3.75 was the last time I looked with Coach Reed. It's probably gone up since this semester. Okay, we have what else?
Jack Browder, he played, I think, 2 years ago. He's at Carson Newman, and he's a really good player. I like him.
Our DB guard that I look up to a lot is Mikael Foreman. He worked me out past 3 summers now. Every day, we wake up, work out 2-3 times a day. He graduated how many years ago?
Before I got here, 9, 10 years ago.
But you want to be.
Science hill. Yeah, definitely science hill.
Tricky. I'll say this about players from our era of basketball and idolizing players. In my opinion, the perspective of current players changed a lot since then. Used to, when we were growing up, we all wanted to be like Michael Jordan or like looked up to these NBA stars. It's a little different. Now these guys know more players their own age at different schools, at different random places, and I don't know that they idolize them, but they definitely have a different picture of them as we would have had of current players when I played. When I played, anybody that was my age, I was trying to be better than. Like, it was a competitive fire. Like Michael Jordan, okay, he's a little better than me, but these other guys my age, I'm better than all of them. And I'm going to prove it when I get out there. And now they know, they follow them on social media. They kind of develop a name for themselves earlier, so the bar has been lowered in that regard. Not that they don't look up to NBA guys too. It's just a little different. The current players their age are guys that they're more familiar with as well.
It might be mixed for all of us. My plan is to pursue a business degree, maybe open my own gym, and I would like to become a nutritionist and start selling different food products out there in the world to better our community at the sports level, especially.
I want to be a physical therapist, but other than that, I don't really have any plan. I plan on chasing baseball as long as I can, but while at Virginia Tech, I'm going to be doing business as a major, so something along the lines of that.
I'll be majoring in supply chain at ECSU next year.
I'm going to do athletic training.
It doesn't. There's not another place, and I'll say outside of some high major universities and NBA arenas that we just went to, outside of that, there's not a high school facility that will mimic this that I've experienced. Now, I've seen some pictures and been able to see a lot of places. They might have 1 or 2 things that compares. As a whole, it doesn't. And we try to relay that to our players as well. That's a very special place, and we're very, very excited to get back. We should be, our first game back in the Dome will be January 28th. Hopefully you get a chance to come out to that game. It'll be a free admission game. Come out and watch us versus Gate City. I know these guys are going to be pumped to the roof, so we might not be able to throw it in the ocean, but we're going to be excited. There's going to be a lot of energy. It'll be a lot of fun.
This is a question for the coach.
5-6 years ago now, and I feel like it's gotten better every year. One thing that's really helped us this year is we got out of playing in the travel tournaments at TNT. The issue with that is our local kids were all from this area, and they would play teams that traveled in from 4 and 5 different areas and pulled the best players, so we couldn't really be competitive. What we've done now is we're playing it through the Boys and Girls Club, and we rotate the sites locally. So we've gotten Gate City on board, Elizabethton, Bristol, obviously Kingsport, or maybe another local, Westridge. All these local entities have a team now, and we play in a unified league, which is really good for that. The 4-2-3 league is sort of a preseason fall league for our best players, and this year I'm actually the one that started 4-2-3 Sports, and I started it to try and help our players have opportunities in the preseason. Before I got here, our players had to drive to Knoxville to play a fall league basketball game, so I thought that was ludicrous. So I got with some other people, some other coaches, and started 4-2-3 Hoops, and we give our guys an opportunity to play against the other best players in our region. This year was a little bit of an exception because last year's lack of success left a lot of our players out. Our best players, some of our best players didn't play in that league this year because it's based on how you finished the year prior. So hopefully we'll have a good finish. We'll have a lot of players involved in that this year. Instead of 3 or 4, hopefully we'll have back to our 6 or 7. We are typically not as big as anybody. Almost every team has bigger players. They at least have 1 or 2 that are taller. I particularly like a little bit bigger team, 6'5", 6'6". But I feel like the way we play can give us the advantage because a lot of teams that have those 6'9", 6'10s, they don't like to come out as far, so we can put a skilled shooter out there. And Cam's really not a post player, but he's the tallest guy we have on the floor a lot of times, so there's a big mismatch. So offensively, I love it. Defensively, it makes guys be a little more physical than they might want to be, and that's where we've got to get a little bit better to compete with those teams. But so far, we've handled that well. Well, in the preseason, it's different for different seasons. In the preseason, we want guys in there as much as they can. Early preseason, we'll be doing 3 days, and we'll do a lot of skill, a lot of conditioning. Right before our season, we'll amp that up to 4, maybe even 5 days. One of those could be optional. And then right now, the standard week, we like to practice Sunday, Monday, play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, play Friday, and take Saturdays off. That will be a picture-perfect week for us, 1 day off. The gym is open, and guys get in there regularly. Yesterday was a day off for us, and we had 3 guys came in the gym and got some shots up. When we're in the dome, it's around the clock pretty much. We have guys in there before school. We'll have guys in there in the evening after everything's closed for the day. It's an open revolving door, which is a benefit to being at Dobyns Bennett. I know a lot of schools struggle getting guys in the gym. I know a couple of the coaches that I contact, their frustration comes with guys won't go to the gym. They won't go in and get shots up. They won't work on their own. Here, we don't really have that problem. Those guys that don't put in that work, they get left behind and they don't continue. So, we're shooting 39.7 right now in the year. The state championship team shot right at 40. The difference between that team and this team right now is their ability to pass it was better. We got more good shots. This team has a really, really good ability overall to shoot the basketball. That will be our strength. And I've told them in the last few weeks, if we would really play defense with a little bit more desire to get a stop, this team has a high upside. Teams that can score the ball at that rate can play with anybody, but right now our defense is holding that back. We can get to the very good level.